Hi everyone, it's Shantae here, your college success coach for the Community Scholars Program. Today for our January video workshop, I'm going to be talking about goal setting, New Year's resolutions, and how to set goals that you'll actually reach for the year. So let's get started. So what's the problem with New Year's resolutions? So only 8% of people succeed in reaching their New Year's resolutions. If you're like me and most the 92% of us that don't usually reach our goals, there are a couple of reasons for that. So usually New Year's resolutions tend to be kind of vague, broad. People will say something like, I want to get healthy this year. I want to get good grades. I want to get a better job. I'm going to save money. So those are great aspirations, but um, without getting more into the specifics, it can make it hard for us to stay on track, which is why a lot of us start to fizzle out around the February, March mark. And a lot of times we try to do too much at once. So if you spent the whole previous year not working out at all, and then in January to keep up with your New Year's resolution to get healthy, you join a gym and you try to go to the gym 6 days out of the week, that feels like a lot. If you're already someone, that works out a little bit, then maybe 6 days a week is manageable for you. But for most of us that set something like that as our goal, we need to kind of start with smaller chunks. But typically New Year's resolutions, we don't account for those things. And kind of goes right into the last point. We don't account for everyday behavior. So if you work 50 hours a week and you're going to school full time taking 15 credits, you're probably not going to get to the gym 6 days a week, and that's okay. But we kind of want to like go big or go home, all or nothing mentality when it comes to setting and trying to meet New Year's resolutions, which is probably why 92% of us fail. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what SMART goals look like and how you can use SMART goals to kind of shape your New Year's resolutions. So the difference between a SMART goal and a New Year's resolution. So kind of as I mentioned before, New Year's resolutions tend to be a little vague. So I'm going to lose weight. What does that look like? How much weight? When am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Who's going to hold me accountable? So we don't usually answer those questions when setting our resolutions. But with the SMART goal method, which we'll go into here in a second, you are going to set specific goals, and you're going to say how you're going to measure that, what timeline you're going to follow. So I'm going to lose weight in the new year becomes something like I will lose 15 pounds by spring break, and I will do so by working out 3 days a week and reducing my food intake to 1,500 calories per day. So that example comes from the Money Crashers website. The link is there in the bottom if you want to read a little bit more about it. But so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about, how to take your New Year's resolutions, if they're vague, not quite well defined yet, and then turn them into something tangible. So what are SMART goals? SMART goals are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-oriented. So we're going to go into kind of what each of those look like and what are examples of goals that are each of those things and that are not each of those things. So a SMART goal should be specific. So when outlining the SMART goal, you can kind of see on my example there, and this SMART goal sheet is available to you. The link is in our newsletter. I believe I've sent it out before, but you can click on it. It'll take you right to a blank version of this worksheet. So who, what, when, where, what do you want to accomplish in as much detail as possible? Do you need other people involved to help you reach your goal? What arena, venue, space are you going to try to achieve this goal in? And why you want to accomplish this goal. So the example I have here, crossing out the vague resolution type goal that says I will work out more this semester, and trying to just put some a little more detail there, make it more specific, becomes during the winter semester, I will spend 30 minutes in the gym at least 3 days a week. I will meet with a personal trainer once each month, and my best friend and I will work out together to hold each other accountable. So now you kind of have an idea of what you need to do instead of just saying, I'm going to work out more. You kind of add a little bit more detail there, make it more specific. So that way you know if you've met your goal for the week. If you want to work out 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and if you didn't do that, then you easily know, you can kind of start to keep track of those things. So on that same note, goals should also be measurable. you should be able to look at your goal and be able to attach some sort of number to it, so you can in some sort of tracking system, so that way you can distinguish between a met goal and an unmet goal. And if it gets to a point where you're consistently not meeting a goal, then maybe your goal needs to be tweaked, and that's okay too, because this is just for you. So there's no right or wrong way really to meet a goal. If you find yourself overachieving your goal, maybe you need to step it up a little bit. But the only way you can really know whether or not you're meeting your goals is to try to track it, usually using some sort of numbers. So how will you track your goal? Some things to kind of consider. How many of something, like if it's money, how much money do I want to save? How many pounds do I want to lose? How many A's do I need to get? How frequently will you check in? So are you going to check your progress once a week, once a month? And what are you going to use to track it? If you're just checking your GPA, through Canvas, like once a week, are you writing this down? How are you going to remember what you had 2 weeks ago, what you had 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? What kind of tracking system are you going to use to help you measure this? So you can see the other example here. I want to get better grades kind of goes into more of a numerical measurement, saying I want to get at least 80%. And you're going to check Canvas or Blackboard, depending on what school you're in, to make sure that you are reaching 80% in each class. And then also what you'll do if you're not. So we said sometimes you have to alter grades, or alter your goals. But before you alter goals, you should try to see if there's something you can do to reach your goal. So if you are getting a 75% in your math class, then maybe you need to go to math tutoring to get up to an 80%. Goals should also be achievable. So shooting for the stars is absolutely great. And I think most of us should try to aspire to do something that we think is beyond what we're capable of, because you always surprise yourself. But on the same note, like, you want to be realistic. So I might want to run more this year, but maybe I'm not going to run a marathon by the end of the year. I'm probably not going to. So maybe, training for a 5K is something that's more realistic and achievable for me. So think about what's realistic for you and your goals. And also in that goes along with keeping track of potential barriers. So in the example I have listed here, someone's saying, I want to buy a car. Like, that's great, but what barriers might there be in place? So maybe you don't have enough money to get a car. Maybe you can't get a loan. Maybe you don't have enough for a down payment. Maybe you don't know if you can make monthly car payments. So what can you do in the meantime? So getting a car, if it's going to set you back financially and make everything else in your life a struggle, maybe that goal is not very realistic for you right now. So what can you do in the meantime? If you don't have transportation, maybe you'll start taking the bus. Find other ways to get around while you're saving money, so that way the cost of purchasing a car are not as much of a barrier. So it's easy to say, like, I want a new car, but then thinking really realistically about, like, what does this look like for me? Is this realistic? Is this achievable? What barriers might I encounter? And then try to play into all of that right away while you're setting up your goals in the first place. I mean, it helps with potential disappointment later on. You don't want to be disappointed. If you try to see all of the possible outcomes up front, that helps out a lot. So, and also, like, is this how you want to focus your energy, time? Everybody has so many hours in the day. We have so much free time. And if some goals aren't worth it for you, then don't pursue them. So if buying a new car, like, it might be nice, but if you're fine getting around public transportation, maybe putting all of your energy into getting a new car doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you are, you're maintaining a B average, maybe putting a lot of time and energy into trying to get a 4.0, maybe that's not the best way for you to focus your time. Maybe focusing your time on one or two classes, and accepting that maybe in some situations a B or a C is okay, as long as your overall GPA stays where you need it to be. That's okay too. So you have limited time and energy. So try to make sure that while you're setting goals and you're thinking about this achievable point, make sure that you're putting your energy in places that make sense, where you can get, like, the most bang for your buck, if you will. Goals should be relevant. Make sure it's a good time to pursue your goals. Training for a marathon or a 5K might not make a whole lot of sense for you in January if you live in Michigan. So maybe that's a goal better set for for a fall. The timing might not be quite right, or you might need to do something a little differently based on circumstances. Make sure goals align with a kind of what you're prioritizing and valuing in other aspects of your life right now, and making sure that they kind of connect with your long-term goals. So if you know your long-term goal is to become a teacher, and so the goals that you're placing right now, they might not have anything to do with being a teacher, but ideally, like kind of everything you're doing is kind of moving you towards what your long-term goals are. So kind of thinking of that, like breaking up goals into chunks pieces can be really helpful. And also, why now? Why like today, this year, in 2017 or whatever year it is, while if someone else is watching this video later on, why now? Like what about this moment makes this a good time? So the example, going back to the I want to get good grades, scratch that. And saying like it's a good time for me to start improving my GPA. There's a internship I need to take, and I have to have a 2.3 GPA to take this internship. Right now, I have a 2.1 GPA. So let's say your goal is to get a 3.0 this semester. Say that might help because it will help me start pulling my GPA up, so I can be eligible for this internship. So in some cases, there's no time like the present. Other times, like you want to be like really strategic and making sure that you're setting the right goals at the right time. And goals should be time oriented. When is your goal? When does it start? Does it start New Year's Day? Great. Are we going to start in February? Give yourself a little time to kind of get things set up? Great. When is the end? So when do you want to have met your goal? What happens if something happens and you don't meet your goal by that date? What kind of check-ins are you going to have, and what milestones are you going to celebrate? And at what point do you decide to kind of revert to a backup plan or decide to kind of revamp your goal, whether you're overachieving or not quite meeting your goals? So this is an example here. A lot of students I know are in this boat. I was in this boat several times as an undergrad, but saying, I want to select a major by the end of the year. So maybe you're an exploratory student, maybe you're at a community college and you're looking to transfer, but saying, I want to select a major by the end of the year. Like, okay, that's great, but like, what are you going to do that? Like, what does that process actually look like for you? So the example here, at the beginning of the semester, I will begin my major exploration. So depending on what school you are, let's say it's January 9th, I'm starting my major exploration. I will work with my academic advisor to select a major exploration class to take this semester and in the fall semester. I'll work with my success coach, that's me, to identify 2 volunteer opportunities in the field, in fields I'm interested in, to complete by the end of July. So that way okay, I need to meet with this person, let's say by March, to identify these opportunities so we can have them done by July. Meeting with a career coach in April to assess my strengths, and then again in August to kind of go over my classes that I've taken, my volunteer opportunities, to kind of continuously evaluate my skills and interests. And then meeting with the academic advisor when you've gotten all this information throughout the entire year, to help you go back, look over everything, and then determine what major might be the best fit for you and what you want your future career to be. By December, you'll declare the major. So instead of just saying, I want to declare a major, and that, not saying that you couldn't still do that without all of these other pieces, but this helps, it helps seeing the end of your goal. It makes it a lot easier to see. So when you kind of have benchmarks and a plan and people that you're accountable to, you're working with a success coach, an academic advisor, and a career coach. You have all these people to kind of help keep you in line. So it can be helpful. So here's a completed SMART goal. I will not read the entire thing to you, but you can kind of go through. The whole goal is about one goal. So this goal is about improving grades. So instead of saying, I'm going to get better grades or I'm going to get good grades, this is how you can kind of line up and say, what is specific about this goal. So it takes place during winter 2017. It involves visiting tutoring and going to office professors or professors' office hours, and the student wants to earn at least a 3.0 GPA this semester. So you can kind of see it's a little more specific. How is a student going to measure this? They're going to use a grade tracking worksheet. Once they get below a B- in a class, they'll kind of ramp up their tutoring. We kind of talked about altering goals and benchmarks and all that stuff. It's achievable. So the last semester, the student received a 2.7 GPA. So they'll have to work hard to get a 3.0, but it's not impossible. So challenging is good. Whoops. Impossible goals is not so good. They recognize that they struggled with math last semester, so going to the math lab might be a little more important than going to the writing center this semester for this student. So like I said, you have limited time and energy, so making sure you're focusing your time in the right places can be helpful. relevant, kind of goes back to why is this a good time? If you there's something coming up, like if you need to have a certain GPA for a scholarship or an internship, might be a good time to set a GPA related goal. And also time oriented. So by the end of March, this person is going to do these things. If they do not have a B, they're going to go to their instructor. They're going to ask what they have to do to get their GPA where they need to be. So leave up. You guys can see that for a second and kind of think of how you might want to craft your own goal, whatever it is, whether it's academic based, health, personal, career, just classes, volunteer opportunities, just whatever you're looking to do. So little tips, just as kind of a recap, start small. Goals can feel really daunting when they feel huge. So breaking goals up into smaller, more manageable chunks. So maybe overall your goal is to graduate with a GPA of 3.5. But what does that look like this semester, winter 2017? What does that look like this month in January? What does this look like, each little section? How can you make that feel more manageable? So you just take one step and then the next step and then the next step. Don't think in terms of all or nothing. It gets so easy to, let's say you have a health related goal and you're saying, I'm not going to eat any junk food, and then you have a piece of candy in class, and then you decide, oh, well, I already screwed this day up, I'll just start back up tomorrow. No, it does not have to be all or nothing. It's okay if you have a piece of candy. If you could still keep going with your goals for the rest of the day. So too often we think in all or nothing, but it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe you didn't work out 5 days a week. Maybe you didn't go to your office, your professor's office hours this week. Start back up next week. It's not, it's not all or nothing. Missing one check-in or one deadline does not have to be the end of your goal. Don't get discouraged. If you feel like you're not quite where you need to be, you can always change your goals if you're overachieving, or if you feel like you're not quite where you need to be, or if despite your best laid plans, things still don't seem manageable. And use someone to help you stay accountable and make sure that you've got other people kind of rooting for you. The support can be helpful. All of you have me, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me and say, hey, I need someone to email me on Thursdays to make sure that I went to my professor's office hours the day before, or to remind me about that tutoring is on Thursdays, and we can set up something to help you reach your goals. And also on that same note, like, it might not be me. Maybe you don't need me to email you. Maybe you just need your calendar on your phone to remind you. And I can help you set all this stuff up too. But there's a lot of apps that you can use to help with time management and goal setting and planning. So take advantage of that stuff. Use the calendar on your phone. If you already are using a planner for class, write these things down on your planner. Anything that you can use to help assist you. So that's it. Thanks so much. Just a little quick video for you guys to kind of start thinking about setting some goals. Now that most of you have some college under your belt, I know you're already kind of starting to think like past this semester, past this year, and into the future. So please download the SMART Goals worksheet and reach out to me. I've already worked with some of you on this, but I am more than happy to help all of you plan and monitor your SMART goals. So thanks so much. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.